members of the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Something special today. Will is here.
Hello.
Yes, my old gaming buddy Will, who I've known for many decades.
It's far too many.
He's over here and he's behind the camera today, though I may entice him in front of the camera a few times, because I'm taking the opportunity to show you around the Universal Head game collection. Now, you've seen it in the background of lots of videos, and I've done little videos about it in the past, but now we're going to have a bit of an in-depth look at all the games in my collection and maybe tell you some stories about them and show you a few things.
A probe of the gaming collection,
A game probe. Yes.
So what have we got here?
Sorry?
What have we got behind you?
Well, behind here we have this set here. Now, we've got a lot of Games Workshop stuff here.
Yes, there is a lot of Games Workshop stuff.
Will and I used to spend a lot of time playing old Games Workshop games like Necromunda, which is up here. Necromunda. Mighty Empires, I think we played.
Yes, we did.
Once.
Blood Bowl.
Mordheim, Advanced Space
Crusade. Oh, the horror.
Yes, quite a complex game, that one. And that's what we spent a lot of time playing and really got us into playing a lot of games.
And of course, Space Hulk.
This is post sort of early role-playing experiences, of course. Good old Space Hulk. I've got second edition of Space Hulk here. I did have first edition and the expansions at the time, and then that was back in the days when a second edition would come out and you'd go, I don't need the first edition anymore. It's all been superseded. So what do I need that for? I'll just throw it away.
Yes.
So
folly of youth.
What was I thinking? I think I've kept a few components. I've got some of the original floor tiles and things in there. Door's going to slam. And I kept some of those. And of course I kept the miniatures as well. So that's got a bit of first edition in the second edition box.
It may surprise you to hear, viewers, that at one point in Peter's life some years ago, he went through a phase where he decided that gaming was not cool enough, and he actually sold large chunks of his collection until he met his current partner, who said, no, I think gaming's pretty cool, actually. And then he started collecting again, and now he recollected all of the games he had in the first place. Here they all are. Look, Rogue Trooper, which got renamed Rogue Drinker after a red wine incident, damaged the board irreparably.
Well, some people might not be aware of these games. These are the first Games Workshop box games that came out.
Yeah.
This is way back in the first, second editions of Warhammer. They also did board games as well. In fact, some of these are before that. And they did this. This is probably the first one. I've shown this before, but Valley of the Four Winds.
Four Winds, which I don't think I've ever played.
You ever played it?
No.
It's just a counters on a board game. It's got little cardboard counters.
Cardboard counters. Takes me back.
This is sort of back when the company was owned by Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson, not the Steve Jackson from Steve Jackson Games, but the other Steve Jackson from Fighting Fantasy books and things like that.
Oh, mate, Steve.
And they did a whole series of games really looking for what Games Workshop was going to be. They didn't really, concentrate.
And there are some classics here. That bottom one there, Dungeon Quest. My 9-year-old son George loves this game.
Well, you know there's new editions of it now, don't you?
Yes, but I don't want those. I've got the original. Okay. I don't need them.
Well, Fantasy Flight redid
Dracula, the Fury of Dracula.
That's also been done a couple of times by Fantasy Flight and is now by Z-Man Games.
I once played Fury of Dracula at midnight on New Year's Eve in a forest in New South Wales. It was very scary.
In a forest?
Yes.
I'd be worried about losing pieces, I think.
Well, fortunately I didn't.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these have been redone. Chaos Marauders was relaunched. Curse of the Mummy's Tomb's never been relaunched, probably because it's a pretty crap game.
It's never stopped them with some others.
Another thing about Games Workshop back then is they had quite a relationship with 2000 AD magazine, which is a British sci-fi comic magazine. So they did things like Megamania, Blockmania, which is set in the Judge Dredd universe. They did a Judge Dredd role-playing game.
Yeah, there it is.
Rogue Trooper, of course, is another 2000 AD property. There's Judge Dredd, the board game. There's a Doctor Who game. So there's all kinds of stuff that they did back then. Here's Space Hulk second edition, which has got also figures from first edition in here.
Oh, look at those Terminators. They take me back.
They're the first edition Terminators. And they've also got some metal ones that were available separately, like so. And look, still some unpainted Gene Stealers. They're not finished yet. And I think there are some...
I believe Peter's just finished painting the second edition of Space Hulk, so he's unlikely ever to come back and paint these Gene Stealers.
Third edition, don't you mean?
Third edition.
Yes. So these will probably never be done. But anyway, there they are. So that was the early days of Games Workshop, and
Yeah, lots of great stuff there.
good old Man of War.
Oh, that's
Fantastic
a fun
game.
game.
The Laughable Dread Fleet.
Which we concluded some years ago was in fact not crap.
No, it was all right.
High praise indeed.
Dark Future, which was sort of Mad Max game. Of course, you don't need that now because Gaslands is fantastic, and it never was very good. But you can use the bits for it. And various editions of Warhammer and stuff, though I've never really spent a whole lot of time playing Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Was never really into those as much. And then we get on to the more modern Games Workshop games, as you know.
Moving forward in time.
Yeah, we've got new Necromunda,
Warcry, which is brand
Quest
new.
games, stuff like that. And of course, brand new Warcry. We've just filmed a battle report for that, and we think it's great.
It's excellent. It's got a really simple combat system based on Blood Bowl.
Yeah. And then, of course, we come to some of the more modern Kickstarters. We've got Conan, and we've got 3 expansions for Conan down there as well. Claustrophobia 1643. These are all painted, which is great.
Feeling claustrophobic? I am.
Mythic Battles Pantheon, still in the middle of painting all that stuff. And new version of Blood Bowl, all that kind of thing. And the
Mighty
new
Empires,
games.
this is a hilarious game where you had to build the board out of hexes. You had to pull that out and let's have a look at it. This game, it took so much setup.
Oh, no phone coins! No phone coins!
That's how old it is.
This is very rare.
Look at it, all the castles and towns all painted. Oh God, look at the effort. All the soldiers all painted.
Yep. All little
It's actually
ships.
quite a clever game. It's once you've built the board out of hexes, there's a whole complex campaign management system, and so those are the hexes here. So they're all fully geomorphic map.
I should point this out. Now, in the early days of these games, of course, they would give you a rule book, and they actually designed the rule book to be cut up and put in a folder like this. And the reason they did that is because in White Dwarf there'd be lots of extra rules and things for the game. So what I used to do back in these days is cut up the
There's
rule
a
book.
picture of the map all set up.
So I'd cut up the rule book and I'd put it in one of these folders, like so, and then I would buy 2 of every new White Dwarf magazine, keep one for posterity, and cut the other one up and put it into all the various folders of the games that it
This is
corresponded
the
to.
kind of dedication that's needed out there, people.
So you can see, there's Adeptus Titanicus,
Oh, yes, we've seen that one before when we played that a couple of years ago.
Hero Quest.
Look at all the extra rules.
Yeah.
How many of them were ever played?
No, I never played. That's the thing. I never got around to using them all. So that's how I would do the rules and keep track of all the sort of extra rules in White Dwarf that I never used. It was great.
Oh,
So-
here we've got some coffin boxes.
So Fantasy Flight, of course, I can't believe these days were so long ago, but they used to make these huge coffin box games. Starcraft, which uses a system that was reused in Forbidden Stars.
Just based on the computer game, StarCraft.
Of course, yes. Rune Wars was relaunched in a smaller box. Horus Heresy is a redo of a Games Workshop game, which is over there. Descent First Edition. Tide of Iron, which is a fantastic game.
Oh, great game.
World
If you like Memoir 44, you should get Tide of Iron. Is it still available? Probably not.
No, it's not.
Missed my chance.
Dust Tactics, of course, long and involved history, but Fantasy Flight did it for a while. And then we've got a Flying Frog one up here, Fortune and Glory. And then I love collecting these old kind of games. So look at this. The Legend of Zagor.
Didn't we play that?
No, we've never played it. Never.
God.
Must be done. But look at it. You can see they're really having a good time.
Yeah, yes, clearly.
They're about our age. But look at all the bits.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, look at this. I love these things. This is the golden age of gaming
They
here.
don't make them like this anymore.
And this has got a little computer thing, which makes noises, and I don't know how it works. I've never used it.
I hope you've taken the batteries out.
Yeah, I think I have. Never actually painted it. I don't know, but that's
You never painted it. I wonder why.
this kind of thing was in response to Hero Quest, of course, which was the Milton Bradley Games Workshop collaboration that was just so hugely influential in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot more games like this over here. You've seen some of these before. If you
Hang on. We're starting at the bottom or we're starting at the top?
We're starting at the top.
Starting at the top and going down.
Yeah.
Shaking it up.
So, in the same vein, Dark World, a couple of expansions, Village of Fear.
You are the last hope. The final battle begins.
And I've actually painted Village of Fear. I've shown you that before. Mutant Chronicles, which has been relaunched in a Kickstarter that I'm still waiting for 3 years after the Kickstarter.
Not that he's upset about it.
Ridiculous. Good old Hero Quest. Space Crusade, of course.
Space Crusade.
Talking about Hero Quest and Space Crusade, let me show you the figures, because they're all painted.
Where might they be?
Anytime you want to take over the other side of the camera, Will,
they're in here. He's got them in the bathroom. Look, it goes on and on. There's an entire dungeon under this house full of figures.
Actually, no. They're not in there. They're somewhere else.
Are they in here? This cabinet is also full of figures, which we'll show you in a minute.
Later. I'll show you those figures later. They're in some Games Workshop figure boxes. So paint all those. Shadows of Brimstone, all that stuff from the Kickstarter. Very bloody average game. It's just taking it, I painted the whole lot.
He doesn't pull any punches, does he, as a critic? So there's games designers out there going, oh, ow, oh, another hit, another hit.
10 years of my life working on that game.
Dismissed.
It's a basic dungeon crawler with lots of random tables and stuff. It's
right. Well, if that's your thing, the swamps of death or the City of the Ancients are waiting for you.
Cthulhu Wars, we really should play. I haven't painted Cthulhu Wars.
The reason we haven't played it is because it needs 3 players, I believe, minimum.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've got to play it more because it's great. Peterson Games, it's really, really good. This is another Kickstarter, ill-fated Kickstarter, Journey.
Never even heard of that one.
Beautiful large miniatures by a couple of Hong Kong guys from Hong Kong who, made this amazing thing. But the game isn't that great, really. It's sort of Hero Questy basic. And unfortunately, they're finding it very difficult to get the extra stretch goals and everything that they promised out to people. I think they're still working on it, but it's many years on now. People are very annoyed. So, the dangers of Kickstarter.
Yes, it's a cautionary tale for you would-be Kickstarters out there.
Classic old games. We've got broadsides and boarding parties. We played this? I think we played it once.
Yes, that does look vaguely familiar.
Yeah, it's got big ships, big plastic ships.
I don't know if we actually did. You probably got it out and threatened me with it and then put it away again.
I like to threaten people with games. And then what have we got here? There's a lot of Z-Man games here, or you call them Z-Man games in America, if you're in America.
They call them Z-Man games in America and Z-Man games everywhere else?
No, other way around, mate.
I don't say Z.
No, you're right. Z-Man games in...
I've never said Z in my life.
You're right, it's Z in the...
Except when talking about the Zoida Z, which I do on a regular basis.
Do you? I could make a joke there.
No, please don't.
Sorry, we say Z-Man, you'd say... No, we say Z-Man.
Yes, you'd say Z-Man. You say Z-Man, I say Z-Man.
I say Z-Man. Let's call the whole thing up. Anyway. Oh, look, this is interesting. This is the original Smog. This was redone by Simon Games.
The 13th Hour.
And this is the original one that was done by... I haven't got glasses. It was done by Smart Max. So the original Smog miniatures were 56mm miniatures. I've never played this, but it's a little miniatures system with cards.
How did they fit them in the box?
They didn't. You bought them separately and they were very expensive. And I always wanted them, but they were too expensive. And then Simon came out with the whole Smog system and put them down to normal scale. And it's a really good game, Smog.
Yes, I've read the summary. I'm expecting to play it at some point in the next 48 hours.
So we've got a good old Battle of the Five Armies, which is great by Ares.
Clash of Cultures is an excellent game.
Is it? We haven't played.
I've played lots of games of it over in Australia, and it's really good.
It is good.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
If you like playing Civilization on a computer, you'll love Clash of Cultures. It's a very similar mechanic.
Battleship Galaxies was launched and then died almost immediately, unfortunately, because it's okay. It's spaceships.
You can just see the battleship just being launched into space and just heading off into the sun. Oops, wrong trajectory.
A whole lot of other random games here.
Mythic Battles, City of Horror, Hall of Horror, Ghost Stories. It's a bit of a trend here. What's this one?
Seven Wonders.
Seven Wonders.
Doesn't excite me that much. Stronghold, of course. You've seen us do a battle report of that.
Yes, we have done a battle report of that.
I spent a horrifying amount of money getting these 3D siege engines built. It was beautifully done. Where are they? Hold on.
Don't drop the box.
Don't drop the box.
There they are.
There they are. I'm not even going to tell you how much they cost to do.
But they're all made out of unpainted clay.
Yep.
Those are the original clay colours. Can you imagine?
And baked in the oven.
There's a battle report on those from several years ago now.
Yeah. And if you look at that battle report, you can find out the guy who made those and get some made yourself if you're as crazy as I am.
They do make the game spectacularly beautiful to play, though, I've got to say.
They do. Awaken Realms. I'm getting Nemesis by Awaken Realms. This is This War of Mine.
Oh, is that who makes Nemesis?
Yes.
I'm getting Nemesis too.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it's had really good reports. It's aliens on spacecraft kind of.
Yes, it looks truly horrifying.
It looks really good.
It's War of Mine. This is a really good game. I don't think we did a battle report of that. We did play it, and we lost horribly.
Everyone committed suicide, I think.
Yeah, it was very, very grim.
It's pretty grim. It's pretty grim.
Great game, though.
Old Plaid Hat games, a lot of games, they've come out with a few, which I just don't play anymore, I have to say. They're good games, but they're not ones that come out on the table very often. As Tlan, I did the graphic design for that one.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, I won't go through all this. Mutant Chronicles, that was interesting. That was the Fantasy Flight game, which was their ill-fated 56mm scale tabletop miniatures game, which flopped horribly. But it's actually quite a good game. I've got the boards for it over here, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I had them mounted on wood.
Yeah, that looks really good, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I've got a couple of these.
Actually, I remember playing that at some point.
Yeah, it's a good little combat game. The miniatures are sort of weird. They're not miniature for a start, they're like quite large, but they're kind of clunkily made. They're pre-painted. It was back in the pre-painted days. I can't even remember where they are.
Because, of course, you're getting the impression here, people, that you look at the sheer number of games and you think, let's play a figure-based combat game. Which of the 500 would you like to choose from?
Yeah. Well, some are better than others. So, of course, we have 1843. I've gone on a lot about 1843.
Yes, it's marvellous.
Storing it is difficult. Most of them are in the drawers over there, but I tend to keep the larger figures in these original starter set boxes.
So now I'd like to introduce a straw poll at this point. I've suggested to Peter, based on the size of these figures, that we should have a armour-only game of 1843 on his lawn after he mows it. And he's refusing to do this because he says, no, we'll lose figures. And I'm saying, no, we don't have to use infantry, we'll just use the tanks.
But can I point out, and I'm sure you all agree out there, these may be large figures, but they have small bits attached to them that can fall off, especially when you're moving them around in lawns.
We'll just leave the small bits off.
So
just go for the simple approach.
These are irreplaceable. It's a little bit risky to start pushing them around in the dirt.
I'd like comments. Who'd like to see an 1843 on the lawn battle report, massed tank armies?
Everyone's going to say yes.
Yes, and then I'll have moral authority.
Oh, no.
Yes, come on, people, vote for me.
So,
go Will, go Will.
Not only do we have 1843, we've got some confrontation boxes down here. There's a Ram Army and a Lion Army box, but I've got heaps of...
Confrontation, another beautiful game. We did a battle report for that many years ago. Yes, 2012 or something ludicrous.
Fireteam Zero was another Kickstarter. That's quite a fun game, and we haven't played that too often.
No.
It's card-based, board combat stuff, Weird War kind of thing. Got old Age of Conan, we played a few times to differing results, but it's still a fun game.
It's a good game. I think the last time we played that, we spent most of the day trying to work out how to play it.
Oh, because we had the expansion rules.
Yeah.
It
was a good game, but it was
I've
hard
done
work.
some new summaries since then, actually, to make the summaries even better.
That's good. I think you described it as an attempt to make War of the Ring work in the Conan world, which is a pretty apt description.
Yeah, it's got a similar system.
It's a good game, but a level of complexity that's not dissimilar to War of the Ring.
Down here, lots of Dust stuff. This is the original, this is the second edition of Dust with expansions. It's on to about the fourth edition now. It's now Dust 1947.
You can find several Dust battle reports in the archives on orderofgamers.com.
Yeah, and all the Dust are in there. I'll show you in a moment. And then it's just this is tabletop more stuff here. So we've got here cards I made for Eldorado, for example. We play Eldorado. And here we've got... this is how I keep my tabletop games organised. I know you're all interested in the ways that I organise games. It's fascinating, isn't it?
That's why they've tuned in, Peter. So, tips from the master.
It's funny, isn't it? So all those years ago when I was quite young and I used to do these things for Games Workshop, here am I still doing the same, actually, in a way.
It's how old habits die hard.
When you want to play a tabletop game, you find, there's a lot to organise ahead of time. You can't just sort of pick up a tabletop game and play it. So these are my attempts to make that process as fast as possible. So if you have Wrath of Kings, for example, you want to play Wrath of Kings, I've got the setup rules here. So
this is how you do it, people. Pay close attention.
Yep. Here's how the battlefield is done. And then what I've done is pre-done armies, so of reference sheets of different sizes.
Yep. We worked out that this was essential to, otherwise you could spend half a day setting up a game.
Yeah. So for example, if we want to play a skirmish game, I can go in here and I've got a Hadros skirmish army. These are the forces in it, these are the reference sheets, and I can just pull this out and you can play a skirmish game with 2 preset armies and you're ready to rock.
Yeah.
And I've done that with all of these, so AT43 has got a whole lot of scenarios in there, all ready to go. What else have we got? Star Wars Armada, Confrontation, Star Wars X-Wing, Eldorado, and Dust.
Yeah, and without all that prior preparation, you do end up with a pretty piss-poor performance, I've got to say. The preparation that this man does, not just in the painting and the collecting and all the rest of it, but that kind of detailed rule analysis so that you can get a game on the table quickly makes a huge difference. Because, as I said, you can spend vast amounts of time setting these things up, and by the time you've got it all set up, you're thinking, okay, now we've got to play it. Actually, let's just have a go and pack up.
The other strange thing for us, of course, is that you don't come over too often. So when Will does come over, I have to sort of have everything ready to go so we can fit as many games in as possible in a short period of time.
I expect a high performance.
Yeah. So I can't go like, oh, you know, my friend's coming over on Sunday, I'll set up this one game for this game on Sunday. We've got to have a set up for a sequence of games. So there you have it. Now, down here we've got Akko Chronicles, which you haven't played yet.
No, and you're running out of space by the looks of things. There are things on the floor. This is a phenomenon I've not encountered before.
I've actually run out of space, so I just got Joan of Arc and Warcry, and it's
in trouble. You're going to have to start going up to the ceiling.
I don't know. So Akko Chronicles by the Red Joker, really good game. I enjoy it, and here's all the summaries, all the expansions.
Go on, look at them all.
And there's some more stuff coming from Akko as well.
Because you need more.
I do need more. So, that's an electronic drum kit. Let's move on over to the main wall, shall we? Hope you're not getting bored.
My
God.
You
know when you are.
Look at the size of it. So, given that you've got all of this neatly databased, how many games do you in fact have, Peter?
Someone asked me this the other day. In my database, there's about... I forgot the number now, but it's over 1,000 individual items. No, it's about 1,300.
1,300
individual
games.
items. But that includes individual books and expansions and stuff like that. But in my listing on Board Game Geek, which is just stuff that's on Board Game Geek that I've gone, yes, I own this, there's about 940. So we're getting up to...
It's only a matter of time until we get into 4 figures.
Yeah. So what
This gives new definition to the term, there's too much choice. It's a well-documented phenomenon that people given too many choices find it impossible to make a decision.
No, I don't. All these get played. There's no problem at all.
Oh, really? When was the last time you played
Oh, here we go. I'm being tested.
Betrayal on the House of the Hill?
No, but I might at any point. I do play twice a week usually, so I play once a week with a group of guys and once a week with one other friend. So I get a chance to play a lot of these games.
So you could cycle through the entire collection in 2 years, theoretically.
Yeah.
Maybe you should make that an ambition.
That's very strict. Let's have a little bit of...
Not allowed to play the same thing twice. I'm never allowed to play the same thing twice. Why should you?
Anyway, I won't go through all these one by one because we'll be here forever.
Where are we going to start? At the top with Battle Masters and Chunder Road.
Oh yeah, that's Thunder Road, well not Chunder Road. Battle Masters we did a battle report for, which was huge fun.
That was hilarious.
It was great. There's a Dark World expansion, Dragon's Gate. You know...
Escape from Colditz.
Good old Escape from Colditz.
We haven't played that.
And Haunted House, which is, you know, one of the first ever games that I played as a kid and probably got me started on this whole game kick. I've done an unboxing of that.
So there's the culprit up there. Quick, burn it.
That's how it all started. So, some random kind of types of games here. Fate of the Elder Gods, Archmage. I did a rule summary for Archmage that they put in the box. Evil High Priest is really good. That's by Peterson Games.
I have never heard of any of these.
Evil High Priest is great. We should play that. So some of the older things. Star Wars Risk is really good. When we played that, it's not Risk at all. But it's just,
no, we haven't played that.
It's good.
We have played Star Wars: The Queen's Gambit at some stage.
Yeah, it's a similar system to that, but simpler. We've never played Battle Ball, which is a rip-off of Blood Bowl.
Well, there's your answer right there.
Dungeons and Dragons Fantasy Adventure board game.
We've probably played about 20,000 iterations of it.
That. Never played it. Star Wars: The Queen's Gambit. That's pretty rare these days, and it's packed full of little miniatures. And,
yes, it's a very funny game, that one.
And Star Wars Epic Duels, which for some reason also is very rare and gets good prices. We played it once. It's just super simple combat game. It was just a toy, really. I don't know why it's so incredibly popular. Have you ever played Space Alert?
Don't think so, no.
Yeah, that's the real-time one where you're trying to keep the spacecraft going.
No, I haven't played that.
Oh, okay.
Sounds amusing.
Yeah, it is. It's real-time, so it comes with a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Armada. For some reason, I got 2 sets of Armada when it came out. I was really excited about it for some reason, and I've hardly ever played it.
Why have one when 2 will do?
Oh, it was really expensive too. Crazy. There's a whole series of the Silver Line Fantasy Flight games, which is small games.
Some favourites in there. Citadels.
I've got a new version of Citadels.
Absolutely brilliant game. If you've got kids in particular, or you want to introduce people to card games or games of this kind of thing, you can play Citadels around a dinner table with people. And after explaining the rules only 3 times, they'll get it. Yeah. And you can have a lot of fun with that.
Here's the latest version here.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Planetfall, Firestorm Planetfall is the tabletop miniatures game, which is epic sort of scale. They're over here, actually.
We tried that once. We had great promise of that, and we never came back to it.
There they are.
Yeah, there they are.
Down there. It was pretty good, but unfortunately Sparta Games have gone under now, so as far as I know it's not doing anything. Behind here there's a whole lot of Battlelore First Edition expansions.
Which we haven't played that for a long time either.
This is one thing I'm slightly proud of. If I could get this out.
Get it down without bringing the entire bookshelf down.
This is the Scottish Wars expansion, and I believe all of these are... Oh, these ones are painted, but most of them are painted.
I did do some of them with kilts.
And this little story on the back, I wrote that. I had a Battlelore website, battlelore.com.
Oh, you did too.
When this came out, I spent ages supporting because I loved Memoir 44. I mean, this came out, I was very excited about it because it was a fantasy version. It was Days of Wonder back then. Fantasy Flight bought it. So I had this website, and through the website I had a whole series of little pieces of fiction about a character and by a character called the Raven, who was like a medieval spy. Mm-hmm. And this is a story about him encountering the dwarves. And the guys from Days of Wonder were very nice and put it on the back of the box.
And I might at this point say that I think the first edition of Battlelore is actually better than the second one.
Oh, absolutely.
The second one, I don't know what they did to it, but they've somehow made it really difficult to play.
Where is second edition Battlelore? Here's first edition. I've got two sets of it.
There's second edition up the top.
And there's second edition. Not as good. If you haven't seen first edition, this is the painted one. I don't know if they're both painted. Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at it. It's just beautiful. Foam core heaven.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of work in there.
There's
painting those pickly little goblins. God, I hated that.
So, in fact, I think this box has all the miniatures in it, and the other box has all the cards and
all the cavalry.
And stuff.
Horses!
No, all these
hundreds
cavalry.
of bloody horses. And everyone's left-handed in this army. Have you noticed?
Really?
Yep, entire army, everyone left-handed.
That's really weird.
It is. Well, I think somebody in the design studio either got the negatives reversed, or,
of course,
or was making a point.
Reversed. I'm left at the end.
Everyone in this army is going to be left-handed.
So I've got all the expansions for that. You also see here there's all the expansions for the others.
Yes, I backed this as well, and I've managed to open the main box so far, looked at it, and then put it back on the shelf. And I haven't opened any of the expansions yet, and that was, 2 years ago? I don't have quite as much time as Peter for gaming because I've got 3 children.
I've started painting up all the...
Which is a mistake. If you want to have lots of gaming time, don't have children.
Yes, you may have guessed I don't have kids. Which has given me all the time to do this stuff. Isn't it great? And children don't go near these games.
No.
These are not for kids.
Not allowed in the room.
Right.
In fact, they're not allowed in the house.
Well, it's not quite that bad.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So we've got Smog, Rise of Moloch, which, as I talked about before, by Simon, and they're all expansions. And I'm making great progress on painting. I've painted all of these expansions, but I haven't painted all the Kickstarter extras yet. But I'm getting through that. Rising Sun, also by Simon.
Kickstarter has had a fairly significant impact on your life, really, hasn't it?
It has when it comes to painting, because there's so many games with painting involved. Yeah. Up here we've got some very rare Space Crusader and Hero Quest expansions. These will cost you a very pretty penny if you want to buy them on eBay these days.
Why are they over here and not over here with the progenitor games?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's a bit of randomness sneaking in there.
Maybe I could spend some time reorganising. That'll be a whole evening of enjoyment.
Updating the database too.
Yeah. I said on the podcast I just did, I've got a file maker database where I database all my games, which is actually quite handy because occasionally you go, actually, do I have that game? You've got to look it up.
When you have close on 1,000 games, this is an occupational hazard.
Here are Dungeon Command, which is a good little game. We've only played a couple of times. It's a sort of card-driven combat game with pre-painted miniatures.
I have no recollection of it whatsoever.
Is it? Oh, okay, there you go.
But you, of course, every time I come here, I have to play 5 or 6, sometimes more, games I've never played before.
Oh, poor Will.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we've played War of the Ring several times.
Yeah.
But most other games, I get one go at them and then they're gone, never to be seen again.
That's not true.
Well, last night we played Joan of Arc and Warcry. Never played before. Probably won't play them again for 2 or 3 years, if ever.
That's not true. All the Battles of Westeros expansions. That's a good variant of Battle Lore.
That is a great game.
It's down here somewhere. Here it is. So we've got the core game and the House Baratheon expansion. And you see, just like Battle Lore...
There's a fair bit of work gone into this one too.
That's a tiny little men.
Look at the beautiful foam core, isn't it immaculate? And look at them all. More horses. Does everybody else have a loathing of painting cavalry like we do?
It's horrible, isn't it?
And war dogs.
Yeah.
People.
There's heaps of expansions.
Heaps of miniatures.
But it's a good game. It's like Battle Lore, but it's more complex and it's more geared towards leaders.
It's got some much more interesting game systems in it. It's a really good adaptation of it, actually.
Yeah.
Can you still get that?
I don't think so. Well, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. They certainly don't make it anymore.
Blood Rage.
So we've got Simon stuff. Blood Rage.
Blood Rage
Castle
is an excellent
Ravenloft.
game.
Haven't played that. Oh, we have played that, but rarely. Rum and Bones, original, and then Second Tide, that came out very close on the heels of the first Kickstarter. They had a
6 hours later.
Yeah. So they said, maybe alternating activations are a good idea. So let's re-release the whole game and run another Kickstarter. Anyway, they were both compatible. Haven't even started painting those or thinking about it. Besieged. Amazingly, I painted all of Besieged.
Have we ever played Besieged?
I don't know. It's a co-op game. It's very random, but these guys are great. They're Second Gate, and they made Monsterlands. And I did a summary for them for the Monsterlands campaign, and they're really nice people, and love dealing with them. And really into the idea of making great games. And when they did this one, they'd had some criticism that it was a little bit too random, so they really addressed those concerns in Monsterlands. But look at all that.
My God, how much painting have you done?
I did a very quick technique on this, which was all about them looking good from a distance and using an airbrush for the first time. But all these characters are painted. Yeah, look at this. And I just have to shove them in there together so I can fit in the box because there's so much. But they're all pretty. This guy's good looking.
Tasty.
So it's a tower defense game, basically. Yeah, we should play it. It's quite fun. But yeah, it's very random as well. So let's run back this way. The new version of Doom. I've got the original version of Doom somewhere else down here.
Doom, the game that is doomed to take many hours to play.
Correct me if I'm wrong, we used to play a lot of the original Doom. And
yes, we did.
In fact, it was sort of in the early days of us getting back into board games again, wasn't
it? Yes, it was. And it was quite a lot of fun, but depending on who you play it with, if people get too obsessed with killing the monsters, you can spend hours just getting through a couple of doors.
4 or 5 hour games.
Yeah, ridiculous.
This version, the new version, is completely different. Completely different.
Yeah, we did a battle report of that last year.
Yeah,
or
we
a year.
did too, but we played the 2-player version on the first scenario, which was wrong. City of Thieves.
Us getting something wrong? Never.
Blah, blah, blah. Relic, which is the expansions. That's the version of Talisman in Warhammer 40k. Civilization expansions, blah, blah, blah. Blood Bowl Team Manager, that's a good game.
There's a whole set of mini games in here.
Yeah. Spynet, that's a new one, which is a fun little game. Jaipur is good 2-player. Cold War, CIA versus KGB is great.
Yeah, we played that.
Yeah.
Not long ago.
Here's my Hellboy figures.
Got to have a Hellboy figure.
And these are the Dr. Broadbort's ray guns by Weta Workshop.
Context for those of us who don't have it.
Weta Workshop being the studio that did the special effects for Lord of the Rings and many other.
And Dr. Broadbort.
Dr. Broadbort. Yes.
Where's he from?
It's an illustrator called Greg Broadmoor. He created this universe of Dr. Broadbort, which is basically sci-fi colonial England going out and colonising the world and with extreme prejudice and hunting.
So just like history then.
Yeah, basically. But it's like sort of Buck Rogers sci-fi with political satire kind of thing.
So where might I find that if I wanted to read that?
Google it.
Oh, of course.
So
more.
Yep.
Oh, very nice, aren't they?
A lot of random little games here. Just got some Aliens vs Predator extra figures.
Monstrous. That's a hilarious game where you throw the cards at the table.
Yeah, done by a friend of mine in Sydney who I haven't seen for a long time, but he made that.
Good. It's a fun game. It's Scalawag. Played that recently with 8 people. It was hilarious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was great fun.
Because I did the graphic design for that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good game.
Dungeons and Dragons original set. This is the original 3-volume set, and I've also got all the supplements in here as well. So it's for those of you who haven't seen it, I've showed it to you before, but these are the original 3 sets of D&D, and these are the
amazing how much you can pack into such a small book, isn't it? The obligatory naked virgin sacrifice. Yes,
things have changed, thank God. Yeah, that cost a pretty penny to gather all those together, I've got to tell you. And that's not, that's certainly not a first edition. It's about I don't know what it is. This is about an 8th edition, I think, or something. 8th or 11th edition, but still very expensive.
Price $10.
Yeah, if only. I think a first edition wood grain set will set you back about $10,000 or something.
Ouch.
Yeah, crazy. And then talking about really old stuff, here's something that's really old, which is metal miniatures from TSR. TSR being the company that did D&D. And they had a sci-fi role-playing game called Star Frontiers, and they brought out miniatures for them. And these were the...
Oh, look at these. They're not painted. Goodness, what's going on?
And they're really pretty crappy miniatures too, but this is what they used to be like. This is the kind of scale that you used to have.
We thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have bases. This is back in, true 25mm scale, so they're tiny. I mean, miniatures are about this big now. And look at this. Wow. That's a big hunk of metal.
It is.
And they even had a spaceship system, which we never played. And you could get a few spaceships.
Star Frontiers. I remember playing Star Frontiers.
Yeah, but we didn't do the space battles. Look at this spacecraft with metal stands.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty fragile. Imagine having that sitting on that.
Yeah, it's just an accident waiting to happen.
Anyway, they're very old. Right, so on here we've got
Nexus Ops. This is the only game that I have never ever beaten Peter in.
Yeah, I don't know why. I always do really well with that.
Every time we play it, which is why we don't play it anymore.
This is the original edition with the sort of day glow, neon coloured.
It's a really good game. I just cannot win it for some reason.
Yep. Galactic Emperor here by Crosscut Games. The wonderful Adam West from Crosscut Games is a friend of mine. I'm doing a game for them, which is the new version of this. It's changed considerably. It's called Empire of the Stars, and I'm working on it right now.
Excellent. Look forward to that.
Over here, this is Monsterlands, which is the last game by Second Gate Games, who did Besiege. And as I said, really nice people. And this is a fun game. We've got to play this. It's great. No miniatures.
Get it down. We'll play it today.
All right, here we go.
Duel in the Dark. I love this one. This is bombing Germany from England, which some people would argue was a complete waste of time, in 1943. And you've got a plan. All of the moves are pre-planned. One of you plays the Luftwaffe and the others play the fire bombers. It's a really fun game. I'm sure you can't get that anymore either.
It's weird. It's all victory points, isn't it? You pre-plan it and then you get victory points for doing particular things.
Yeah, it's somewhat reminiscent of an old Avalon Hill game called Luftwaffe, which did much the same thing but with cardboard. And they also did a version of this called Duel of the Giants, which is Tigers versus T-34s at Kursk. And the Tigers all have to be every move and every turret rotation.
That?
You did. I've got it. I've played it a couple of times. It's quite fun.
Played it.
You've got to pre-plan every move with the Tigers. Like, am I going to reverse, go forward, turn my turret 45 degrees? It's horrific.
There you go. Incognito second edition, which is I did the redesign here for Ares. That's another one of my jobs.
It's a fun game of masked balls in Venice.
Yep. Middle-earth Quest, that's a Fantasy Flight game that isn't played too often. Called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is the original board game. There's a new one out now that I haven't really looked at, but this original one is really quite good. I'm a big Buffy fan.
Middle-earth Quest, that's the one where you've got a hero who's roaming around Middle-earth completing various... Yeah, it's just got a lovely map, I seem to remember.
And the shadow player does completely different things. It's asymmetric. Never played these two. Don't even know what they're doing there. I think I got them for free.
They're in the M section.
Yeah. Aliens vs Predator, The Hunt Begins. I painted the miniatures for that, and we haven't played it yet, so we should...
That's another one we've got to do this weekend, isn't it? Well, I read the summary.
Dogs of War, Simon, that's quite good. Blah, blah, blah. Dead Zone. Whatever happened to Dead Zone?
You put a phenomenal amount of effort into that.
I put a lot of work into that, and then they took me ages to do a summary, and then they redid the rules again. I had to do another summary, and we've only played it about 4 times or something.
Yeah,
it wasn't a bad system.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was all right.
There's another battle report for the 2 battle reports for that, I think, from 5 years ago or something.
Give it a go sometime. The miniatures were a bit painful to paint because they... Yeah, anyway, that's okay. I've got some more miniatures for it, I just haven't got around to painting them. Games Workshop, Shadespire and Nightfall, they're good. This is the original Akko, which was just a straight combat game. The new one has got investigation and a hell of a lot more in it.
Pandemic's another good one. If you have got children, you can get them to play Pandemic and they are forced to cooperate, which causes all sorts of fracas. People insisting that I'm going to be the scientist. No, you were the scientist last time. I want to be the scientist. I'm going to be the researcher. I demand I'm not playing if I'm not the researcher. That kind of stuff.
So this is why I don't have kids.
Yeah, but once you get them going, it's amazing. They actually cooperate, which is not something you see very often.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's not a cautionary tale. It's an instructive tale.
Some of you are probably surprised to see Puerto Rico in my collection. It's a very Euro game. Yeah. It's a great game.
It is. There's a really good app for that too.
Strangely enough, one of the few games that my partner Carol really enjoys playing, even though it's relatively complex, and she doesn't usually like the more complex games. So
yeah, I get my kids to play that too. You get a 9-year-old playing Puerto Rico. It's possible.
Yeah. I've got some nice 2-play games here for the Rio Grande series. Some of those are great. Babel's great. That's
Babel.
Now by Zemon Games.
I think the last time I beat my wife at a game was when we played Babel on our honeymoon, which is a long time ago.
What a stupid time to play Babel. That's a really aggressive
we were sitting in a hotel foyer waiting for a lift to Halong Bay or somewhere in Vietnam, and we said, let's play Babel. And you're right, it was a super aggressive game. Really and my wife's extremely competitive.
Yeah,
there's a picture of me going, yes!
Good old Lost Cities, there's a classic.
On Kahuna, that's a cracker of a game.
Kahuna, that's good.
Bridge building in Pacific Islands.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Wings of War, I've got some nice pre-painted miniatures for that. We haven't played that for a long time.
Yeah, I played that the other day too, the Second World War version. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
Saboteur, I got shot down in my first turn.
This is a good little game, Saboteur card game. It's about dwarves tunnelling through mines. Classic love letter, of course. Spartacus. Tell us about Spartacus, Will. In fact, let me put you on the other side of the camera for a while. I'm sick of seeing my face.
Once a year, I get a bunch of like-minded people together, and we go to a place down in the Southern Highlands in New South Wales. And we play lots of games, but this is the favourite. And we did this recently, and we played Spartacus on Friday night. We started at about 10 o'clock, and we went till 3 in the morning.
Wow!
And then we did it again on Saturday night.
Oh,
and it's got cards like, well, let's just say it's rated for 17 years plus for a reason.
The language is a bit fruity.
It is, but it's an excellent game.
It is an excellent game
where everyone is stabbing each other in the back and screwing each other over. There's nothing better. In fact, in one of those games, everyone in the game, there were 8 people playing, gave me money so that I could screw over the one guy who was about to win. I had 35 gold piled up with the express intention of preventing him from winning. So that sort of stuff. That's like until 3 o'clock.
He must have been feeling a bit paranoid at that point.
No one could win. It's hilarious. Very funny game.
No.
Anyway,
have you played Sons of Anarchy? That's
no,
by the same company. Not as backstabby, but still pretty good. And of course, Firefly as well. This is all stuff by a Gale Force 9, who are just about to re-release Dune, the old classic. Yeah. Somehow they actually managed to get the Dune license and they're re-releasing it. But a whole lot of Firefly stuff there, which is a fantastic pick up and deliver space jobbing game.
Right.
And there's Hellboy himself. Hi, Hellboy.
Hello.
Hi, Pete. Oh. What have we got over here?
Here, give this back to me.
Well, sorry, that's enough of Will.
Yeah.
We've got Game of Thrones card game, which I got into briefly, but didn't really hold my attention as much as Netrunner and some other games. And Warhammer Conquest, which again, same kind of thing. Still fun games.
How many variants of Warhammer are there on this shelf? I mean, there
These
must be
Warhammer. This is
I know, but like the
card games,
Warhammer 40,000 Realm theme games, there must
heaps.
be dozens.
Yeah, heaps. I mean, Games Workshop will license out to the guy on the corner. Basically, if they get a cut. Shouldn't actually say that because a friend of mine is the head of the licensing department of Games Workshop. And if she listens to this, she'll go, "You bastard."
Well, there you are, you're screwed.
No, actually, it's all good stuff,
Oh yeah, I'm not criticising the games. I'm astonished at the breadth that they managed to, the number of different types of games.
Like 40 years of development in this background, and it's insanely detailed. I mean,
true.
Hundreds of books, and there's just so much rich stuff there. It's great. I mean, and who else does a grim, gothic, full-on... Yeah, it's the only gothic sci-fi thing that matters, really.
Yes, they did pioneer that one.
So, talk about that. We've got Chaos in the Old World, which is the Warhammer. Yeah, as Flood did. This is a great game, Chaos in the
So
Old
what
World.
I want to see a Star Wars Warhammer conjunction.
Oh, that'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Luke corrupted. yeah. See, this is why Star Wars is so boring, because it's so black and white and good, evil kind of thing.
It's black and white.
Yeah. Star Wars Rebellion, you didn't like this. Dylan and I have played this a couple of times and really enjoyed it. But
Oh, is that the one, the huge galactic empire one, where you're trying to find the rebels?
Yeah.
No, it's not so much that I didn't like it, it's that you got incredibly frustrated playing the Empire because you couldn't find me.
Oh, okay, so of course it's my fault.
You didn't like it. I was successfully skulking.
Fallout game by Fantasy Flight, which is okay. Heaps
More Star Wars.
of Star Wars ones. Now, this is all divided now into different types of things. So the Jabba's Realm box is just full of the miniatures. I painted everything that I've got for Star Wars.
This is a very haphazard storage arrangement by your standards.
Well, the thing is, these are all varnished with a semi-gloss varnish, so it's pretty strong. When they're plastic figures, just being chucked together like this isn't going to chip the paint. So it's really pointless to do anything more careful.
It's not like you're moving them around much, are they?
No. So I do it like that. So there's some large figures for that in here and stuff like that. Gears of War I just painted. Merchant of Venice is another remake of an old classic, pick up and deliver stuff through the desert. Game. Good old Cosmic Encounter, of course, is a classic. And now we go over to Days of Wonder stuff. Days of Wonder had the halcyon days when they first came out, where they brought out great games. Still do great games, but they're more in the Euro style now and not really my cup of tea. But these ones were really fun. Colosseum's a beauty. It's been remade, but not as nicely.
These two are excellent games to introduce people to games who've only ever played Trivial Pursuit or Monopoly.
Yep, good gateway games.
First time I played Mystery of the Abbey, Peter and his partner had us in a dark room with candles and Gregorian chants playing.
Yes,
it was
we especially
priceless.
bought a CD of Gregorian chants and set up candles, and then we led them into the room with the game all set up.
I think you blindfolded us or something too, didn't you?
So setting up the atmosphere for a game can be fantastic, really enhance a game. Lighting and a soundtrack in the background.
Yeah, makes a huge difference. We used to play role-playing games with our band's light show and being triggered by Stravinsky's Rite of the Spring.
Did we?
Yeah, down in my downstairs room. Yeah, wow. It was huge.
Memoir.
Memoir
45. I just got Winter Wars the other day.
It's a really good expansion, that one.
Yeah, just got it. I realised it was the only one I didn't have except for the new airplane.
This is my favourite game of all time. I think I've played more games of Memoir 44 than anything. I love it.
I've got a lot of painting to catch up. I haven't painted the equipment pack.
There's hours of fun there.
Yeah. Ticket to Ride, which is a good game, but for the love of God, stop with the expansions. There's been about 5 billion now, hasn't there?
Yes.
Incredible. Here's a whole lot of stuff by Flying Frog Games. Funny old company. The games are fun and silly and simple. I wish they'd put a little bit more effort into the game systems because they're very random. But you know what you're buying when you get into a Flying Frog game. And Last Night on Earth is always a classic.
Yes,
and I really like Touch of Evil too. That's got a really good atmosphere. It's gothic Americana horror type stuff, which is good. I've been through that. Battlestar Galactica, I still haven't played a whole game of that. I really want to, because I've got all the expansions and...
all right, well, it's 3 to 6 players. This is the problem.
Yeah, I know. Forbidden Stars, a few other ones. There's the new version of Dungeon
You did a
Quest.
Forbidden Stars battle report? last year.
We did.
I believe that's up
Bit of
there.
a disaster with the combat system, wasn't it? Soul is a
I wouldn't say it was a disaster.
well.
I'd say once again you lost.
It's a beautiful game. Elephant Laboratories is the only game they've brought out, as far as I know so far. Soul.
It's a lovely
I
finish.
did a real
isn't it?
summary for them for the game, and it's a really good game. Check this one out.
Well, what's in it?
Oh, I'll show you. It's about civilization and a dying sun, and trying to get resources to escape the dying sun. And it's got this lovely minimal graphic design style. Here's the board.
You said sun.
That's the sun, and these lovely sort of abstract
Oh, wow.
pieces. So abstract spacecraft and stuff like that.
Why haven't we played this?
I don't know. We should.
Let's get it out and have a crack at it.
Cards. Yeah, it's a really good game. Very underrated game. I've only played it a couple of times.
So put that one on the pile to be played.
All right, okay. Over there. What have we got? Here's some Arkham Horror card game, which of course is a lot of fun. Here's the campaign sets for the first 2 campaigns. It's a co-op horror game, as you know. Little underrated cooperative game, Rune Age.
Infiltration, that's a lot of fun. Breaking into a...
Oh, this one. Yeah, this is
corporate
one of my
laboratory.
favourite games. I love Infiltration.
Yeah.
If you want a short game,
It's
it's
really
really
good.
fun. Set in the Netrunner universe. You get breaking into a building and trying to steal data and escape again alive. And
It's great fun.
I always take this one along if there's half an hour left to play a game. Adventures with the Big Trouble in Little China. That's by Everything Epic, and it's a really good game. If you like, I was thinking it'll just be a basic sort of fun romp, but it's actually
it's
got
good.
some really interesting systems in it.
So I read your summary on the plane over. It looks like quite a good system. Carcassonne, excellent tile placement game.
Haven't played that for years.
It's another good one to play with kids.
Folklore of the Affliction is, of course, by Greenbrier Games, and that's, if you like old school D&D, that's as close as you're going to get to old school D&D in a board game. It's really fun. AVP expansion. Look what I just did to my hand.
How did you do that?
I just whacked it on the edge of the thing.
Fool.
I bleed for you.
True sacrifice.
Kyclades and Inish and Kemet, they of course are all the same sort of series, and Dudes on a Map type games, all fantastic.
Yeah, Kemet's a lot of fun.
Scythe, I've got all the expansions except the Rise of Fenris one, the campaign one.
There's now a computerized version of Scythe you can download on Steam.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, but I downloaded it. I haven't got around to it yet, but it looks quite good.
Hellboy, we're going to play. I painted the whole thing. And
Okay, you better get it out then.
I don't have to. I will in a moment, except I don't want to
Jimmy.
bleed on my games. Yeah.
Oh, the sacrifices.
We've got Heavy Hitters by Weta Workshop and Cryptozoic, which is, giant robots. It's okay. Hunt for the Ring by Ares. Game I have to really get into more. That's like Fury of Dracula. It's hidden movement stuff. Takado, which is great. Scoundrels of Skullport. That's all good. These are all good.
Lords of Waterdeep. There's also an excellent version of that available on the iPad. But,
So there is, yeah.
yeah, you can play it. It's good.
Yeah.
It does all of the bookkeeping for you, which is a relief.
Yeah. Got lots of Heroescape, of course, the classic Heroescape. Really good, but man, it takes a long time to set up.
There is a battle report of that from a couple of years ago.
Puppet Wars Unstitched. Remember this one?
Yeah, it's a great game.
I've painted all those too.
Did we ever do a battle report of Puppet Wars?
I don't know if
See,
we did.
look at this. This is the terrain. Spindles of cloth.
Now, I actually bought these on eBay. These are actual vintage, cotton spindles to go with this game. And look at this. I also redesigned the cards because, look, you got these horrible, ugly cards that look like this.
Yeah, the cards.
Oh, look, that's the same matching one.
Yeah, and there's some really great paint jobs.
That's the card. So I thought, no, I'm going to do them like this.
It's a bit of an improvement.
Much clearer. I'd forgotten I'd redone that.
Yeah, that's a really fun game.
All right, let's leave that out. We're going to play that too.
Puppets killing each other on a tabletop covered in sewing paraphernalia.
Look at this.
Huh? You're bleeding for your art.
Let's just pause for a moment while I get a tissue and clean this up. Right, I've prepared myself now, Band-Aid, so let's continue. What are we up to? We're down here. Ninjato was another one I worked on. That was for cross-cut games again. That worked out really nicely, that game, and it's a really good game. This is the new Hannibal and Hamilcar, which we haven't played yet.
No.
I haven't played it with anyone yet, but it's a classic game. Oh, Incursion.
Oh, Agricola.
Yeah, Ancient Terrible Things. Deadline, again by Crosscut.
A tantler, as it's known in my house, on account of the tantrum I apparently had when asked to explain the game after just reading the rulebook.
What, Agricola?
Yes. It's not an easy game to explain just after you've read the rulebook for the first time.
Yeah, I haven't played it for a long time.
War of the Ring.
Let's stay down here. We've got, these are very old Games Workshop ones. This is the original Horus Heresy. And these ones were sort of a trio of games. Battle for Armageddon was also redone by Fantasy Flight. Doom of the Eldar, they didn't redo for some reason.
Hexes and cardboard pieces, they were great games. Lots of fun.
Games Workshop Gore Chosen. This is Catacombs is a dexterity game. Old Tannhauser, which we played a couple of times way off.
Yes.
Original
Nazis again.
Original Descent first edition expansions. There were so many of those which we never used.
Which became the byword for feel like a quick game of Descent at midnight.
Yes, we've said that a lot, haven't we? You know,
Well,
when it's late, you've had a few drinks, you're exhausted, and someone always says, "Feel like a quick game of Descent."
Because there's at least 4 hours to play it.
Ticket to Ride 10th anniversary. Sedition Wars, an underrated game. That was one of the early Kickstarter successes.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And not too bad. Level 7 Amiga Protocol is good too. And Dark Moon is a Battlestar Galactica type Traitors mechanic game, which has got an 80s feel.
Traitors
really,
mechanic.
Really good. Lord of the Rings card game, got quite a bit of that. That's good. I've got everything for Warhammer Invasion card game, which is, you know, good game, but certainly not worth the hundreds and hundreds of dollars I've spent on it. Star Wars card game. Got heaps and heaps of Netrunner. Netrunner's brilliant, of course. There's the original Doom down there. Talisman, blah, blah, blah.
Black Orchestra, that was a fun game about trying to defeat the Nazis.
Yep, that's pretty good. This is the new Talisman. You may have noticed right back there at the start, I've got the original edition of Talisman with some of the expansions, most of them. And some
Command and Conquer,
Civilization, Lord of the Rings.
where the whole Memoir 44 system comes from.
Game of Thrones, which I haven't played. Britannia's a good one. I think that's being re-released on Kickstarter at the moment now too. Tide of Iron, Expansions, Descent, heaps of Mansions of Madness, Arkham Horror, and Eldritch Horror. This is all Fantasy Flight stuff. I used to get so many of their games. Runebound, here's the latest edition of Runebound. There's the redo of Rune Wars. So that's about it for board games.
And then we go on to role-playing games.
Right,
Oh my God.
a couple of things here. So, I hope you're still with me. This is quite, I hope you're enjoying this. If you're not, you can turn off, so no problems. Continue.
Please, pray.
Please settle back. If you want to take a break, have a cup of tea or something, mix yourself a cup of tea, we'll still be here. All right?
Well, we're not going anywhere because we haven't got to paranoia yet.
Oh, no, we haven't. Why, what? It's there. So, over here we have Warhammer Fantasy Battle. So, of course, we started with D&D, basic D&D, and I've talked about that in another video. But we very soon moved on to Warhammer Fantasy Battle when that came out. I was the referee, so I sort of said...
Yes, let me rephrase that. Peter decided he was sick of playing Dungeons & Dragons because we'd been playing, what was it called, Dragonlance.
Dragonlance series.
And when Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay came out, he just basically said, we're not playing that anymore, just dumped us in the middle of a campaign and said, we're moving to this gritty medieval horror version where you're all starting at level 0.
Yeah. Yeah, but Dragonlance was so shiny and
yes, it was, but it was a bit of an abrupt shock for us because the first battle we had in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, I remember it vividly, it was some goblins crossing a bridge or something, so we all just charged in. Most of us died because we'd forgotten how crap it was being a low-level unit.
I do remember that Andrew was beaten up by some guy in a bar and got his legs broken or something like that. And I remember just the look on his face as I was describing how the rest of you were carrying him out of the bar and taking him down to a barge to get out of there.
Yep.
And he actually had to recover for months. And it was just like, why? You didn't do that in D&D. You
No.
just lost hit points. In this one, there was critical hits. And,
you could and did die. It was very realistic.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
So since then, I've got everything that Warhammer Fantasy Battle has done, except for the new Cubicle 7 version, because I've just thought, enough Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I'm sure the new version is great, but I haven't played it. So here's the original book that came out.
Ah, yes, with little Stumpy with his orange mohawk.
And I remember this coming out and going, oh wow, this is a whole new brave world of role-playing. This is really exciting.
Yes,
this was the kind of fantasy I wanted to play, which was grim, gritty, English type fantasy.
And we then proceeded to play that same campaign over a 10-year period. Which included a 3-year layover when you were overseas somewhere, and when you came back, we just picked it up again and went with it.
Yeah. So this is the famous campaign, Death on the Reich, all that kind of stuff, which got really good until about something rotten in Kislev when it all started falling apart.
On account of it being rotten.
It's a very early version of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. This is about 3rd edition, I think. And it came with stuff like Realm of Chaos. There are 2 Realm of Chaos books. I don't have the other one, so if anyone's got one and wants to sell it to me, please.
What's in it?
It was all chaos-related stuff to do with Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Somebody sat down and wrote all this stuff. Probably
Full
got paid for it too.
Yeah, amazing artwork, random tables. Look at this. Full-on stuff. So that's that. All of the rest of this is Warhammer Fantasy. Here is... Where's Realm of Sorcery? When I went to England, to London, and met James Wallace, who was running Hogshead Publishing at the time and had the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay license, and so I did this logo for him for the Realms of Sorcery book, which was nice. Unfortunately, I was always worried that it wasn't printed right correctly.
Yes, it does look a bit...
It's a bit dull, and also they did something with the bleed, so it wasn't printed exactly how I wanted it to be printed. But anyway...
Not to your usual exacting specifications.
No, I didn't have anything to do with the printing.
It's always the problem, isn't it? You hand it over at the last minute and somebody makes some kind of editorial or printing decision and everything gets blown to pieces.
They did amazing work, though, and James Wallace is an excellent fellow, very, very talented writer.
What's over here?
All right, over here, this is the original Cosmic Encounter. You can see, which is a little bit hacked up. I think I've got this. There's something in here. What does that say? It's like birthday. What's the date on that?
1981.
1981. Original Cosmic Encounter. And here's old Star Frontiers we were talking about. These are all Star Frontiers modules.
Oh, Gamma World. Gee, we played a lot of that.
2 copies of the original Gamma World. This is the 2nd edition. These are all the Gamma World modules. And, of course, the Indiana Jones role-playing game.
Which we did play.
Did we?
Yes, it was hilarious.
Wow.
I distinctly remember being Indiana Jones and jumping off a truck and jumping on somebody and clubbing him over the head and running off into a crowd and hitting somebody with a whip, and it was fun.
So, yeah, Indiana Jones role-playing game. Famously, they had little standees, and they had little standees of Nazis, and TSR had Nazi TM written on them.
You've got to be kidding me.
Unbelievable.
Oh, that's just wrong.
So you may have heard of the Diana Jones Award for gaming. Well, of course, that comes from the Indiana Jones role-playing game, and the award that they give out is the remains of the last copy of Indiana Jones production copy, which was burnt on a pyre and put in a plexiglass pyramid, and is now the award for the Diana Jones.
What do you give? What do you win that for?
Excellence in gaming.
Oh, in design.
Yeah, well, gaming design, yes.
Right, okay.
So innovative, interesting games and everything win this thing. And I think you can still see Nazi TM inside the Perspex. Who knows?
That's just unbelievable.
So here we have, I'm very proud to have this. This is my collection of original AD&D modules. So it all
pull one out at random.
Well, it all started with, I've showed you this before, but here it is, good old S1 Tomb of Horrors.
Yes.
That's the first module I bought, and most of these I had to rebuy because I sold them.
You fool!
So remember, folks, don't sell your games.
No.
Unless you're really, really, really desperate, don't sell your games, because a time will come when you'll think, oh, I really wish I had those old games.
Mm-hmm. And then you'll have to do what Peter did and go and spend an entire life savings buying them again.
Yeah, and frustratingly enough, I also sold, and I always regret this, my original Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook, and which is just madness. I sold them at a convention or something in Sydney. I had to rebuy these, and it's a shame because it's not my original Dungeon Master's Guide. It's great to have it, but it's I wish it was my original copy.
Oh, well, you can't have everything in life.
You can't have everything. Jeroen role-playing game is another classic from there, Thieves' World, and of course Empire of the Petal Throne, which is the first role-playing game.
Started it all.
It started it all. Down here, this is all Tocqueville stuff, which is all related to Empire of the Petal Throne. Tocqueville is the fantasy world by Professor M.A.R. Barker. That's all the stuff by them.
Down here.
There's a bit of everything here. A bit of Pathfinder, which I didn't enjoy. That's Pathfinder. The Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game, which is a lot of fun. Petty Gods, which is an expansion that I worked on doing layout for. Also, here's another book I did the cover for, which is Eidolon, which is a role-playing game supplement. And original War of Wizards for Tecumseh Divine Right. Here's my original photocopied version of Empire of the Petal Throne.
Yes, I had a
Back in the days when
version of the Dungeon Master's Guide. It was huge.
I was 12 years old when I did this. Photocopied that.
Oh, and here's the notorious Dragonlance.
Yes. I've got all the Dragonlance modules up here.
Of course you do.
You
bought them again.
Those. But before I bought them, I thought I came across this great deal on eBay where you could get all the Dragonlance modules in one hit. I thought, that's great. And they showed up, and look at them. They were tiny, tiny versions.
How can you even read them?
Well, you can't hardly, but you can with a magnifying glass.
Oh, that's absurd. Show me the copy inside some of that.
No, it's...
Look at that. What do you estimate the type size is? It's got to be
about
2 point?
Yeah.
Oh, that's madness.
It's got all the maps. It's even got counters. It's got everything. But it's a 2-volume set, and they're mini versions.
God, they were just laughing up their sleeves when they published that one.
I think it was made for the Japanese market or something like that because they like little books or something. I don't. It was made for a different market.
Amazing.
Weird. But anyway, someone ripped me off on eBay, and I got those. But now I'm really glad I've got them. Lots of second edition Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is the Fantasy Flight version, which had lots of cards and counters.
Oh, of course, we went through how many? 3 editions, and the third one was a totally different combat system.
Yeah, actually, this is 3rd edition. These are all the books for 2nd edition, which were done by Black Industries.
So are you getting a sense, people, the loyalty of Peter's gamers? We have been subjected to numerous gaming systems over the years, and I think by the time we got to the 3rd Warhammer system, which was immensely complicated, involved lots of special abilities and contrasting combat styles and everything. I think everybody was suffering Warhammer fatigue by that stage, including yourself, because you massively over-prepared everything.
Oh, I did so much preparation. I even had like interactive PDFs and all kinds of garbage.
Yeah, so I think the quote at the time was, "This is beginning to feel like work."
Yeah. I'm sure all the people out there are thinking, gee, it must be terrible to play games with Peter with all this preparation and hard work he puts into the game.
That was great.
Yeah, that must be terrible. So that's that. So, that's the shells. What are we missing?
Shells. Well, now we've got to come around here to the cabinet.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, we've got all the Batman over here. And, of course, the War of the Ring collection I'm very proud of. This is my collector's edition. Yes. All the other collector's editions of the stuff. Just
give us a look at some of these drawers in here.
I've shown you in here before, but let's just go through them quickly. We've got... what's this game called? It's been so long since
I have no idea. War Machine.
War Machine. It's been ages. I painted all these Menoth ones. All these Crix ones in the middle here were painted by a guy who sold them to me for like $500 years ago or something. And he did a beautiful paint job, so I thought I got a pretty good deal on that. This was our very first war battle report we did, War Machine, back in Sydney. It was. I've got Incursion here. These are original Akko figures. Helldorado. This is all Helldorado.
Ah, Helldorado. Fabulous game.
Yeah, that is a good game. Lots of special abilities and things to remember, though. If you haven't seen the video, I've done videos on how I aligned these with sheet steel and used magnets to keep them in here.
Yeah, so every single figure has a magnet in the bottom of it.
They're all magnetised, sometimes inside the thing or sometimes on the outside. So these are all Wrath of Kings. We've got a Shale Hand army here. We've got a Nazir army here. We've got Hadros still working.
For those of you who we've put up quite a few more Wrath of Kings videos, but what you don't see here is that not only did you have to paint these figures, you had to construct them because they all came as bits.
Yeah, most of them, yeah.
Legs, arms.
There's some new ones you haven't seen, like the Shell Crackers.
Yeah, there was I did 2 armies of this, and the effort involved in constructing them, basing them, painting them. Oh, God.
So the old Gruzzi I haven't started.
The horror.
These are Technares. I've only done the pig guys there.
Oh, yes, so that's
and then
more
we've got some Games Workshop stuff. This is Nighthaunt army, some stuff from Shadespire and stuff. That's Silver Tower. Look, Man of War. These are very rare and hard to get now.
Yeah, look at
Man
that.
of War ships. There's a little bit of Infinity here. We tried that once and didn't
failed
get
dismally. Dreadfleet.
No,
that's Man of War still. Okay. Yeah, we really probably should give Infinity another go.
General fantasy figures. There's some old Cthulhu figures here. This is Grenadier Cthulhu figures. This is a really old demon, Grenadier Demon. Which is rather nice. This one, here's an oldie. Look at this. I think this is Games Workshop.
Oh wow, I remember that figure. And look down here, there's some ooze.
Yes, haven't painted that ooze. That's a shoggoth.
The Shoggoth!
Yeah.
Oh, the Shoggoth!
Tiny shoggoth. Some really nice deep men, Grenadier deep men.
It does remind me of one of those role-playing games we missed over there called Chill, which we used to play.
Oh, yeah.
Where we actually used to scare ourselves.
Yeah, horror game. It's scary.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
Particularly if the door creaked at an inopportune moment.
Yeah, that was a good game. I've got all the Chill modules.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. What's in the next drawer?
These are all general fantasy stuff. And
Including the corpse figures. You can't get those anymore.
No, these are really old Games Workshop ones, some of these.
Yes, many, many times.
These orcs are really old.
Some of these guys have died hundreds of times in Warhammer role-playing sessions.
These are all metal, so very early Games Workshop metal ones.
Oh, God, look at
and
that.
these are very early plastic elves. You can see pretty chunky plastic stuff back then. What we got here? Oh, there's some Mordheim in there as well. This is more recent stuff. This is Deathwatch Overkill. This is all Warhammer 40,000, the last set. These are very early Space Orcs, back when they were called Space Orcs. Metal ones. This is from Warcry. This is Blackstone Fortress. Got some very old Necromunda figures and some new Necromunda figures. So you can see the scale creep here.
Yeah,
this is the new Goliath figure. Here's an old Goliath figure. There you go.
Yes.
Look at the scale creep.
It's definitely getting bigger.
Huge. Crazy. Which, it makes them a little bit more like toys, but oh well, I guess they are toys.
Really?
You haven't seen
You
these?
just had that realisation?
These are all new Blood Bowl teams. This is from the new set, and there's a Nurgle team.
I've never played Nurgle Blood Bowl.
Yep. And then we get onto all the huge amounts of AT-43.
Look at them all. God.
More AT-43.
The serried ranks just queuing up, waiting to be gunned down.
More
AT-43. There's more AT-43 than you can ever use.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I've got hooked on it. And then we start getting into confrontation.
Another one that is another dead game.
Yeah. Now you notice these are all figures that fit in these drawers. These are all confrontation as well.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then you've got to have somewhere to store the larger figures. And they're in here.
In the shower.
So that's Age of Sigmar.
Stop and think for a minute there.
Age of Sigmar Magic
Oh,
and
look
a
at
few
that.
other bits and bobs.
And we played with that big spiky purple one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
That was fun.
These are mostly Wrath of Kings. You haven't seen this guy, he's new. It's Teknez.
Oh, okay. Why is he in Teknez? He doesn't look technical.
Well, Teknez aren't all technical.
Oh, there you go. I haven't looked at Wrath of Kings for some time.
Yep.
They sit in their metal box going, play me, play me.
AT-43 vehicles. Ones overpainted. Trees.
Terrain.
Kill team terrain. More terrain. And these are all terrain too. We won't go into all that.
Boxes and boxes of terrain.
I've recently labelled these so I can tell what's what.
Battlefield, Volcanic, Tinker Turf, Dust, AT-43, Mordheim, Gorkamorka, Tinker Turf. What's Tinker Turf?
It was a Kickstarter. It's Necromunda type terrain made out of cardboard.
Look at that. You could the level of organisation required here, just to find all this stuff, know where it is. It's fantastic.
And there's more behind there as well. Well. What do you reckon?
Well, we're back where we started.
Back where we started. Let's go through it again. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this look through the Esoteric, what I grandly call the Esoteric Order of Gamers Studio, but actually is just my humble game collection, gathered since I was about, 12 years old.
12 years old.
So since I was 12, and certainly has exploded in leaps and bounds in about the last 15 years, but there's a lifetime's worth of collecting games, and as you know, I'm very passionate about my games. I absolutely love them, and I'm very proud and love my collection. And it's very good to share some old memories of some of these games with you, Will.
Yes, well, it's bizarre actually going through some of these games, the amount of time we have spent and the amount of enjoyment we have had playing some of these games. In multiple different houses, in different countries, in different time zones. But there's been a common theme of that, which has been we've been having a bloody good time.
We have indeed. Games have brought a lot of pleasure into our lives.
Wouldn't do without them.
And they continue to do so.
Yes.
So thanks very much for watching, folks.
And as Peter said, when he gifted me his copy of War of the Ring as a birthday present, He wrote on the inside of the box, I think it was, Happy birthday, Will. May the games never end.
Indeed.
Peter. Can't put it better than that.
What an excellent way to end this show. So, may the games never end, folks. We'll see you at the Esoteric Order of Gamers, orderofgamers.com. Thanks for watching.
Cheerio.
Bye.